Welcome to another Flow with Tarot segment on Unleash Your Alchemy. So listen, we are down to the last card, all right, of this segment. Last but not least. And please understand, even though this is the last part of this particular segment, this is not the last of me giving you you could call this behind the scenes look into how I go about prepping my spiritual tools, okay? This is something that I want to make as a part of this channel to not just show you how to connect with your spiritual tools and connect with your spiritual technology, but to infuse it into every single part of your life. Because the way that you practice and your life is not separate, they are together. All right. There's no such thing as your quote mundane life or regular life versus your spiritual life. The two merge, all right? This is why you don't do spirituality, you don't do rituals, you don't do spells. You are the spell, you are the ritual. You are spirit, okay? So, Page of Pentacles. What I feel with the Page of Pentacles, what I get right now is that the Page of Pentacles is reminding us to hold what we have, to hold our energy in the form of our literal energy in the form of our time, energy in the form of our attention and our focus, energy in the form of our money. To hold it with care, to look at it as sacred again. One of the reasons why we get out of practice of doing that is because when we are in the middle of doing things in our physical life, we tend to forget. And we tend to not be mindful that what we hold, what we carry in our vessel being our body, our magical body, is sacred. We forget that our energy is sacred. This is why I will always invite you and hopefully inspire you to show reverence to yourself. If you have to, make an altar to yourself. Remind you of who you are. Look at yourself as sacred again. Hold your spiritual technology as sacred. Be reminded to hold your spiritual path, the way that you practice, as sacred. Treat it as sacred. Here's an example that I want to give you. So I just said that I would recommend that you make an altar to yourself. Even if you didn't do that, an example of how you can infuse the practice of showing yourself reverence and viewing yourself sacred, holding yourself as sacred again, and making it a practice, you can put that intention into your food. When you're making your food, whatever that looks like. If you are a chef and you really cook, or even if you're just the type of person that eats salads all the time because you don't like to cook, however you prep your food, put your intention of holding yourself as being sacred, speak that intention into your food. Set up your table as a sacred space while you eat. No one even has to know what you're doing. If you're eating with other people, if you have a family that you're eating with, of course, it may be easier if you're eating by yourself. But if you're not, you can still do it. No one has to know what you're doing. You can set the table up in a way that symbolizes your sacred being, your sacred energy. Use certain colors that represent what being sacred is to you. Again, nobody has to know. Of course, there's the candles. And even if you are eating with other people, because having candles at the table is, that's commonplace. You see it in restaurants. People will just think it's part of your setup. There is even a way that you can set your forks on the table. You can set your silverware on the table. There's ways that you can set your glasses on the table. That where in your mind, you are setting the intention. I'm setting this table as a representation of me holding myself through the lens of what is sacred. Very easy. This is how you infuse your spirituality into your physical life. So you can do that. You don't mean, here's the thing. I'm just going to insert this here. This is why people, there's a lot of twisted information. I'll just put it that way. I won't make this long. There's a lot of twisted information on spirituality. And one of the big reasons is because people view spirituality as entertainment and demonstrative and wild and, fireworks and alarms and big giant fucking candles, big giant altars, performative measures that people focus on. People view spirituality as glamorous. And here's the thing. I am not saying that being what we would call demonstrative doesn't have its place. It does, but I believe when you have to do something, or when you feel as though you have to do something that is demonstrative in that way, you keep that for yourself. But too many people do that, and then they want to show everybody. And that is not the point of a spiritual practice. It's for you. It's for you. Now, of course, when you are in the practice of, not just doing work for yourself, but doing work for other people, then of course that's a different conversation. But this right now, I'm talking about you. So going back to holding yourself as sacred, I use the example of your spiritual practice. And I also want to add that you have to get back into the practice of holding your energy sacred. I said that. And then also holding your gifts sacred, holding your talents sacred. One of the reasons why people don't act on their gifts and on their talents, they sit on them, they don't want to be seen, they hide in the background, is because they don't hold their gifts and their talents sacred. If you really held your gifts and your talents sacred, you would not hide them. If you have the gift of speaking, you wouldn't hide it. If you held your gift of speaking sacred, you wouldn't hide it. If you held your gift of writing sacred, you would write the books. you wouldn't hide it. If you held the gift of singing, the talent of dancing, the talent of acting, you wouldn't hide it if you held it sacred. Here's another thing that I want to say, and I thought I was done, but Pentacles, we know, is the representation, is symbolic of earth, okay? And you have to look at your being. You are connected to the earth. You're connected to the earth, okay? When you look at your gifts and your talents, when you pay attention to them, when you give reverence to them, when you view them as sacred, when you view your energy as sacred, regardless of the form of the energy, you become even more grounded. The earth element reminds us to stay grounded. The earth element keeps us grounded. And you being in your genius, you being in the fullest expression of who you are through your gifts and through your talents. Oops, sorry. You being fully expressed in your gifts and in your talents. That keeps you grounded. That is grounding. Okay? You infusing your spirituality and your practices into your daily life, into your daily living activities, that is what keeps you grounded. And I think that's the last thing that I want to say about the Page of Pentacles. So let me know what your takeaways have been throughout this entire segment. We're going to keep going. There's some more things that we're going to talk about on this channel. I'm going to do more vlog style videos on the entire channel. So yeah, we have much more to discuss, much more to talk about. There's some things I want to show you. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you would like to see as well. Let me know how I can support you in your spiritual practice. All right. Also, don't forget one last thing. If you would like a reading from me, a tarot reading, schedule your appointment to do so. All right. I will leave the link in the comment section. All right. Later.